Yo, what's going on, guys? It's Houston Sports Talk back in the video today, and today we're going to be talking about a potential trade for the Houston Rockets in trading for Ben Simmons. And before any Rockets fans that are watching this say hell no, it's not that bad of an idea. Which what I've seen from Bleacher Report. So in an article a couple days ago, maybe 2 or 3 days ago, there was an article that said a trade that every team that is not in the NBA Finals should make, and the Rockets trade they said the Rockets should do would be a trade with the Brooklyn Nets that sends a 2029 second round pick to the Brooklyn Nets, and the Rockets receive Ben Simmons and a 2025 first round pick, which is lottery protected. But at the same time, it belongs to the Phoenix Suns. Kevin Durant and Devin Booker will still be there, so that pick should not be in the lottery, so the Rockets would most likely be able to use that pick. So in that case, the Rockets send a future second-round pick and get back Ben Simmons and a future first-round pick that is lottery protected. I know Ben Simmons has a lot of cap space and also at the same time is not that great of a player anymore, even though he's still very young. And if we'll be honest, I don't think the Brooklyn situation was the best situation for him. And honestly, in Houston, I think he would probably be better. There's a lot of really good shooters around him, catch and shoot shooters. I think kind of reminds me of the good looks and good shooters that he had in Philly. Just list a couple of the shooters that Ben Simmons would be able to, give catch and shoot opportunities to: Jabari Smith Jr., possibly James Harden if he re-signs, Jalen Green, maybe Alperen Sengun. We're looking at maybe a Sengun improvement from the three-pointer. Also, not only that, but if Ben Simmons is on this roster, Ben Simmons and Alperen Sengun will probably run some pick and roll a lot of the time. Tempor Jr. is going to be getting a lot of more catch and shoot opportunities with not running that point guard position anymore. We're looking at a KPJ being at the shooting guard small forward position. Tari Eason is a good catch and shoot guy. Same for KJ Martin. So I don't know. I think Ben Simmons would be pretty decent on this team, and if he's not, then big loss, because at that point you got rid of a second round pick to land Ben Simmons and take a chance on him, but also you got a first round pick with it. I mean, Ben Simmons does not have a lot of value because just of his contract, almost $37 million, and he's an expiring contract as well, and how bad he's played in the past, how bad of a shooter he is, how he has no talent really besides defense and a passer. I mean, he's an amazing. I mean, I can talk about how good of a player Ben Simmons is when it is as a passer and a defensive player. I mean, Ben Simmons is a defensive player, and as a how good of a passer he is. That's the type of Ben Simmons we want. But the Ben Simmons that has no offense, has no confidence, and no shooting, nothing, is nothing, can do nothing on offense besides being a good passer. I don't know if that's worth taking on his contract at $36.9 million. I really don't. I really don't think it is. Even with you getting a first-round pick back, with Ben Simmons and only giving up a second-round pick, it reminds me a lot of the Detroit Pistons taking on Kemba Walker's contract last year. We saw a trade where New York sent Kemba Walker to the Detroit Pistons because of his heavy contract, and then ultimately the Pistons ended up buying him out or releasing him or whatever they did. I don't think this would happen with the Rockets. If Ben Simmons comes to the Rockets and with a first-round pick and a second-round pick going to the Nets, I see him being on the roster. I see him playing. I don't know how long that is. Eventually, if he's doing horrible, the Rockets could potentially move him at the deadline. But if he's doing good, it's a decent trade, because you get a first-round pick for a second-round pick, and at the same time also you're getting a player who might be straight up trash, or at the same time could be a decent leader and a decent player. He's a hell of a defensive player. This year he averaged 7 points per game, but I mean, his defense is amazing. He averaged 1.3 steals per game this year and averaged a half a block per game, but he only averaged 7 points per game, averaged 6 assists per game, averaged 6 rebounds per game, and is a horrible free throw shooter. He cannot shoot at all. I mean, barely can make a layup. I mean, he could make a layup, but besides layups, I'm not sure what else Ben Simmons can make. Sometimes free throws, but if we go back to his years in Philadelphia, where he was an all-star, multiple-time all-star. I think he was a 2-time all-star. I think 14.3 points per game with Philly and 20. What is that? 2020-21 season averaged 14.3 points per game with 7 assists per game and 7 rebounds per game. Then the 2019-20 season averaged 16.4 with 2.1 steals per game, a half a block per game, 8 assists per game, and 8 rebounds per game. So average 16, 8, and 8 with 2 steals per game in 2019-20 season. Then the 2018-19 season averaged 17 points per game with 1.5 steals per game, 8 assists per game, and 9 rebounds per game. Then 27-18 season, where he won Rookie of the Year, averaged 16 points per game with 1 block per game, 1.7 steals per game, and 8 assists per game, and 8 rebounds per game. Also keep in mind that his minutes were way down than it's been in the past. I mean, he played 26 minutes per game with Brooklyn last season, and in years past with Philadelphia, averaged around in the area of 30, 33, 32 minutes per game in Philadelphia, which he was definitely a different player than he was when he was with Philadelphia. But at the same time, I don't think a lot of people realize when he was with Brooklyn, they didn't really need him for offensive purposes. When you have Kyrie Irving and Kevin Durant, when most of the time when Ben was playing was when Kevin Durant and Kyrie were on the roster. When you have Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving and a bunch of other spot-up shooters and a bunch of other decent scorers, you don't need Ben Simmons offensively. Yes, he was bad offensively, but you need him to be a good defensive player, and you need him to be the decent passer he is. You don't really need him offensively. I think 7 points per game on a team where he's playing with Kyrie Irving and Kevin Durant and a bunch of other really decent players, it's not bad. It's not good, but it's not bad. But I think the Rockets should do this deal? I wouldn't be mad at it if it happened, but I have to go with no, because it's hard to take a chance on Ben Simmons with the cap space, even with the money he has with $37 million. The Rockets would probably still be able to sign James Harden if they traded for Ben Simmons, but they wouldn't be able to get any other free agents. And in that case, I would rather the Rockets get another free agent. Like, the Rockets could technically get James Harden, sign James Harden, and then sign another free agent like Cam Johnson, Austin Reeves, or Dylan Brooks. Now, I'm not saying the Rockets should sign Dylan Brooks, but, in the money type of player, like Dylan Brooks is expected to get $12 to $15 million a year, which is absolutely ridiculous. But, guys like Dylan Brooks, Cam Johnson, Austin Reeves, the money they're expected to get, the Rockets could sign James Harden and sign a guy who is worth around $15 to $18 million a year, like Cam Johnson, Dylan Brooks, or Austin Reeves. Not saying the Rockets should sign Dylan Brooks, because that would be awful. I'd rather us trade for Ben Simmons than sign Dylan Brooks. I really would. But I would rather want the Rockets to be able to get James Harden and then sign another free agent with James Harden, like Cam Johnson and Austin Reeves, which I don't think Austin Reeves is available, because I think the Lakers are going to do everything in their power to re-sign them. But get a free agent like Cam Johnson with James Harden instead of trading for Ben Simmons, even though the Ben Simmons, the Ben Simmons trade, it that trade is offered to you, that trade is definitely, why wouldn't you want to do it? You're giving up a second round pick for a first round pick and a player who, you know, who might be good or might be just straight up trash. But you get a first round pick for a second round pick. But I think on top of that, Ben Simmons, if he does bad, the money that he has could seriously hurt your franchise. But you guys, thoughts. You guys let me know your thoughts. I say no for right now, but I mean, who knows if Brooklyn really offers that trade though? Why would, even though Ben Simmons is terrible and they probably can't get much for him, why would Brooklyn only give up a second round pick? Why would Brooklyn only accept a second round pick for a first and Ben Simmons? I would think maybe 2 or 3 second round picks would be the option for them, but who knows? We'll see what happens. I say no, but at the same time, I don't think the Rockets should make this trade. But if it happened, I wouldn't be upset about it, but would be nervous for sure. Very nervous. Wouldn't be upset, but would be very nervous. But you guys remember just on that trade package, like that trade package, it doesn't upset me because we're only giving up a second round pick and getting back a first in Ben Simmons. But the only problem with that trade is dealing with Ben Simmons' the money he has at $37 million, and also him being a really bad player for most of the time. So I got to go with no for right now, but wouldn't be mad if it happened. Would be very, very nervous as a Rockets fan. But you guys have your thoughts. That's it for the video. Hope you guys enjoyed, and peace out. Go Rockets.